Well, we did see the Rand retrace some losses today, and the old saying goes, be greedy when others are fearful. So Mike van der Westhuizen, Portfolio Manager at Citadel, is that what you're doing in this market?
Yeah, good evening. It's been certainly been very interesting. We had that bit of a shocker of a GDP number yesterday, coming way below expectation. As you mentioned, the Rand went to about 12.83. It's retraced some of that today, but I think the market's still a bit confused as to what direction we are heading at the moment.
Yeah.
So, definitely not doing anything aggressive at this point in time, but definitely these kind of times do present a lot of opportunities in the market.
Now, yesterday's GDP shocker was largely on the back of a massive decline in agriculture, which comes off a high base, admittedly. But also at the same time, we've got expropriation without compensation as government's policy. I was just chatting to Dr. Petrus de Kock at Brand SA about this and ensuring that the messaging is 100% about doing this in a sustainable way, and a sustainable way in terms of having a minimal impact on the economy. It's, as he said, you're going to require the wisdom of Solomon for this one, because property rights are property rights. But if I were a farm owner right now, what would I be doing? Well, I doubt very much that I'd be thinking about investing any capex into my farm. Do you think that's a part of the reason we've seen this big decline in agriculture?
Look, I think possibly too certain to make a conclusion like that. I do think that the government is treading water very carefully with this one, and it's a very touchy topic and sensitive topic, as you say. So, I don't think that it'll have a detrimental effect in the short term, but I think if there is any policy error or policy slip, I then definitely will have an effect on the agricultural sector in terms of output. But for now, I don't think that the EWC conversation was one of the main drivers for decrease in that sector. So it's going to be interesting. I do think that policy certainty is obviously important for the economy as a whole, in any sector going forward. So It's something to definitely keep an eye on.
Yeah, that task team needs to wrap up its work sooner rather than later, because I really do understand the fact that for South Africa to move forward, we have to solve the land issue. But expropriation without compensation, I think many academics, many commentators, those people who are really at the coalface, the likes of Ruth Hall, Richard Spur and others, have all said we don't have to amend the Constitution to do that. We have the framework. We just don't seem to have much of the political will. Now, another big issue that's been impacting people is petrol prices. They seem to be marching inexorably towards 18 Rand a litre, and I didn't fill up last night because I just can't stand the queues. But obviously this is a factor of the Rand and the Rand dollar oil price, and we've seen oil heading towards 80. It has come back a little bit over the last while, and it depends on who you speak to. I think it was the Total CEO who said $100 a barrel could be the future. BP's looking at maybe $50 a barrel. Your thoughts on where the oil price is going?
Yeah, it is definitely a tough one, and as you mentioned, it is a big factor especially in the consumer in South Africa's mind, as it affects oil prices and petrol prices, and that feeds through to the end consumer in terms of what you're paying for your food and inflation and interest rates. From our point of view, I think that oil will probably settle at these kind of levels for the time being, and there's talk of the US asking OPEC to increase supply, which obviously would bring the oil price down slightly. But for us, I don't see $100, and we don't see much lower than $60 for the time being.
And obviously a big part of that fuel price is taxes and levies. And we know that because of the maladministration, the corruption and the poor governance we've experienced over the last few years, that's been seen as an easy target to balance the books, to plug that hole in the budget. So whenever you fill up at the petrol pump, yes, the oil price is a big factor, but so is the governance or the woeful governance that we've experienced over the last while. Now, I've had it put to me that there are reasons to be bullish in terms of an investment thesis looking at SA Inc. stocks. There seems to be a lot of value returning to the market at these levels. Do you have any particular themes or sectors that you're looking at the moment?
I mean, if we look at all asset classes within South Africa, I mean, certainly the bond yields now are starting to look quite attractive. I mean, in terms of real yields, we are amongst one of the highest emerging market real yields out there. So definitely something to look for in SA fixed income. From an equity perspective, I mean, I think the market ran quite a bit ahead of itself after the December ANC elective conference, and we have started to see some pullback there. Right now, trading quite cautiously in terms of the SA-facing names. I think a lot needs to be done in terms of President Ramaphosa and his cabinet to get policy right, to get the confidence back into the economy, and we've seen some pretty good confidence both from a business and consumer perspective coming through in the last quarter, but on the ground we yet to see that translate into earnings and into within the various sectors. So, for example, within financials, credit growth is still pretty slow, so the banks there will need to get their loan books up and running and growing for that sector to start to look more attractive. And then obviously in the industrials, we need to see more capex spend. Retailers, we need to see more store expansion. But it all comes down to the consumer and to business confidence again.
And we see the Saki business confidence number out today did dip slightly, but a very good sign that we've been invited back to address the G7 after a 7-year hiatus. So encouraging signs that foreign investor sentiment is starting to improve. Your market commentator tonight, Mike van der Westhuizen, Portfolio Manager at Citadel.